It's 3 a.m. in Sparta. The rest of the civilization is asleep, but 2 Spartan soldiers are out on a secret mission. Thoughts racing, hearts pounding as they walk closer and closer to the destination. Nothing like this had ever been done before. After the briefing, the commander spoke 3 words. Complete the mission. They were about to cross a line that would change what it meant to be Spartan forever. What was so alarming that caused them to change their ways so quickly? And why was it necessary for the longevity and safety of the Spartan people? During the day, Sparta did not feel like most other Greek cities. There were no busy marketplaces filled with trade, no focus on art or luxury. Life was simple, controlled, and disciplined. Young boys trained in groups, learning how to fight. Older men spent their time maintaining order and preparing for war. Even the atmosphere felt different. Quiet, focused, and serious. Everything in Sparta revolved around strength and survival. But Sparta's true power was not just how it lived, it was how it fought. On the battlefield, Spartans were among the most feared soldiers in Greece. They fought in tight formations known as a phalanx, where each man protected the one beside him. This required discipline, trust, and perfect coordination. If one soldier broke formation, it could put the entire group at risk. This is what made Spartan soldiers so effective. They did not fight as individuals, they fought as a single unit. Picture a battlefield for a moment. 2 lines of soldiers facing each other, shields raised, slowly moving forward. The ground shakes as both sides collide. Spears push forward, shields crash together, and each man relies on the person next to him to stay in position. If one breaks, a gap opens, and that gap can decide the entire battle. Sparta mastered this style of warfare. Their training, discipline, and unity gave them a major advantage over other armies. And when they won, they didn't just defeat their enemies. They took control of everything that came with that victory. Land, wealth, and most importantly, people. This is where things began to change, because every victory made Sparta stronger on the surface. They became a society, drunk on the addicting wine of winning. But never had they taken their skill set outside of the battleground until today. For weeks, the commander had not been at ease. Reports had been coming in, small incidents, arguments in the fields, groups gathering longer than they should. Nothing major, but enough to notice, enough to think. He walks through the outskirts of the city, watching from a distance. From the outside, everything looks normal, but to him something was wrong. Sparta looked strong, but it felt different. He saw potential weakness, one that didn't come from the usual enemies outside the walls. Days turned into weeks, the constant doubt of losing the greatness that had become Sparta. But any talk of this outside the city and their greatest enemies could capitalize on this unrest. The commander needed a quick response before things became unmanageable. Not a public solution. Something quieter, controlled, targeted. He brings a small group of trusted Spartans together. No announcements, no records, just a simple idea. If a threat could grow in the shadows, it should be dealt with in the shadows. That is when the plan is formed. A hidden group, carefully selected, highly disciplined. Their role would not be to fight wars, but to prevent them. This was the beginning of what would become known as the Krypteia, a secret organization created to eliminate early threats to the Spartan society. So the question now is, who was the threat and how did they get there? Sparta won many battles over time and captured people from other regions. As their society grew, more and more people were brought under Spartan control. and the number of captured people kept rising. These people were not regular slaves owned by families. They were tied to the land and had to grow food for Sparta. Some called them the unofficial Spartans because of how ingrained they became. The Spartans called them Helots. Helots worked the farms, produced crops, and were a key functioning part of the Spartan system. They became integrated into everyday Spartan life. The Spartans themselves were laser-focused on war and tactics. They couldn't focus on much else at the time. At first, the system worked well. Sparta could focus on war and training soldiers, while the Helots handled the work no one else wanted. Things were going smoothly, but over time the number of Helots grew fast. They started to feel more comfortable and sometimes argued or fought among themselves. And this is when the Spartans realized that controlling such a large group could become a serious problem. For every Spartan, there were about 7 Helots. Such a large number of people could easily rebel if led to. It would be a crutch for the Spartan society to lose the Helots as well. This was a big challenge for the commander. The people they created a dependence on were beginning to become uncontrollable, hence the formation of the undercover police, the Krypteia, but it wasn't always a smooth sailing solution. On that night, the path is narrow, the ground is dry beneath their feet, the moonlight barely reaches through the trees. In the distance, small homes, a Helot village. One soldier slows down, the other follows. No one speaks, they already know the plan. A faint light flickers inside one of the homes. A man moves inside, unaware. One of the Krypteia steps forward, staying close to the wall. Another moves wider, cutting off escape. Everything is quiet, measured. This is not chaos, this is deliberate. That night was the first successful mission of the Krypteia, one that will never be forgotten. By morning, something feels off. At first, nothing is obvious. Then a door is found open. No response from inside. Then another, and another. No loud panic, just a growing silence. Something happened during the night, and no one saw it. No warning, just one clear thought. It can happen again. Over time, not every mission went perfectly. There were moments where targets resisted, moments where someone noticed movement too early, moments where things became louder than planned. And in those moments, the risk became clear. If the Helots ever organized, even slightly, the balance could shift. Overall, the system worked well. The Helots began to change how they acted, avoiding large gatherings, speaking more carefully, and moving with more caution. Control was no longer just physical, it became psychological. And for Sparta, that made all the difference.